Everyone and their mom has made a video that in some way addresses Henry's old shape and his rebuild. As such, I know for a fact that I'm not the first person to make this video. I'd like to propose Henry's old shape being the Great Western Railway number 111, the Great Bear. I'll tell you why this works, what's wrong with the idea, and how I think it would affect his rebuild. The Great Western Railway Great Bear was the first Pacific made in the UK, being completed February of 1908, Gordon being the first Pacific from the Great Northern Railway. It weighed 97 tons, 6 more than an A1, and just a bit longer too. It had a massive boiler, 23 feet long and capable of 225 psi. This giant boiler fed a 4-cylinder system, the same as the Great Western Star class. It was even superheated, but due to its massive size, its route availability was very limited. In truth, its performance was hardly any better than the Star class, the biggest flaw being its massive boiler was too long to properly heat. If the combustion chamber were larger, it may have been different. However, when the castles came about in 1923, the Great Bear was rebuilt into one. Its publicity value was gone due to the castles being objectively better in every metric. To make it work for Henry, I like to think they gave up on the Great Bear around 1917 and pawned it off on the Northwestern Railway for an absolute bargain. Now, the Great Bear was bad, but it still would have been capable of handling even the biggest expresses on the Northwestern Railway, except for one big difference: the coal. Locomotives on the Great Western were built to run on different coal because it was mined in their region and so cheap to buy and transport. Taking the Great Bear out of its element and feeding it a different sort of coal may clog up those terribly long boiler tubes, and the engine would be useless, bringing us to Henry at the point we meet him. Big and powerful when he's working, but easily tired out. Slow, sickly. When he gets Welsh coal again, he really may give Gordon a run for his money. A bit weaker, sure, and not as fast, but a capable express engine. Then, when we get to the Kipper crash, we have a few more options, but one stands out. Something I always found odd was Henry being originally a Gresley design, but rebuilt into a Black 5. A Gresley engine, presumably a 3-cylinder engine, to a humble mixed traffic machine. I don't necessarily think a mixed traffic design was a bad call, sure, but a Black 5 seems a bit out there. In a theoretical universe where Henry was the Great Bear, he could be rebuilt into any number of 460. Maybe a Grange, a Hall, maybe Crew could have converted him into a Coronation class? I don't know. We could take the obvious route and make him a castle like in real life, or we could get a little silly and make him a king. Basically, the next step up from the castle, and the peak of express power on the Great Western Railway. Capable of exceeding 100 miles an hour and stronger than Gresley's Pacifics, the Kings were exceptional machines. They even had better adhesion than Gresley's Pacifics, owing to the firebox resting on the driving wheels instead of on a trailing axle. This would force Gordon to accept that there is someone who can keep up if not exceed him. This in its own could lead to a whole book of stories where Gordon has to watch his insults fly in his face. He's no slouch, but a King-class Henry would be able to match his speed and beat him on strength. For Henry's part, it would send his ego through the roof, and there'd be a much greater rivalry between the two. There'd be competition for that express, and with that, Gordon would more often find himself pulling some dirty goods trains. Maybe even the Flying Kipper. It doesn't end at Gordon, though. James would certainly be jealous of an engine named for a king. And you can imagine what kind of response Duck would have to finding out that Henry was the only Great Western Pacific, and to finding out that that Great Bear was a failure. Duck wasn't built until the 30s. The Great Bear had been and gone by then, so all he may know is rumors and myths, leading to a number of potential stories between the two characters. I like Henry as he is in the Railway series and TV series, even if I do find things a bit odd. And this is more or less a warm-up for a project later. Thank you for watching. I will hopefully be back next month.